Hey guys, it's me, Phoenix Labs here, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Airfix's 1/72nd scale GR.1 / AV-8A Hawker Siddeley Harrier. Now this is a 2015 release of a pretty new tooling. I believe the tooling came out around 2010, so pretty new. This kit usually retails for a little around 35 bucks. And it is, well, I've actually built this one, so it's actually a pretty good kit. I enjoyed building it. Comes with two decal options, one for the Royal Navy and one for the Marines, the United States Marines. And yeah, let's crack this guy open. I say crack it open, but let's look at this box art first. Here we can see the Harrier taking off from a carrier. And it's taking off from HMS Ark Royal, and yeah, this is what it was during its trials, as it says right there. Pretty cool. Pretty basic Airfix box. It does come with one flying hours. Here you can see the two paint options. Usually they're right here, but they put it up here this time. The box is a bit of a snug fit. I did already go in and remove one of the plastic bags so that doesn't distract me. And starting off the top here, we have, well, let's see how many screws we got. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're getting 6 sprues with a decent variety of parts. These are all relatively small sprues, and I'm sure that most of them are meant more for the armament options. Starting off the top here, we have part of the tail control surfaces, presumably a landing gear bay, also a landing gear bay, presumably, landing gear leg, whatever those are, bit of the ejection seat, pretty basic, but that's what you kind of come to expect. Here we can see some rocket pod tips. These look like Soviet ones, so I'm sure if they are American or British. Presumably those attached to these guys. Cockpit tub, also pretty basic, but yeah, no, pretty basic. No extra detailings there. Tires look pretty well molded. Do have a bit of a seam line, but it's a very small one. And yeah, it's a pretty nice first sprue. Second sprue, we got the other half of the, or one of the halves of the fuselage. Looks pretty well detailed. You can see where you have the two engine inlets, or not, that's the engine inlet, and here we got the exhaust that allow this aircraft to be VTOL. It does seem that this little part right here is not protected at all, so that might snap off, so be careful of that. Actual detailing is pretty good, exactly what you would want at the scale. Here we have the gun pods and some bits of the engine inlet and probably some fuel tanks. Pretty nice. Switching over to the top of the aircraft, we can see the upper wing. Once again, very nicely molded with all kinds of various parts. Bit of the ejection seat, which looks nice. The instrument panel has no detailing on it whatsoever. Some very thin parts, presumably parts of the landing gear, and the lower wings where it's pre-cut to have the two armament options, or I think it's more than two, but the few armament options that this kit comes with. Which is very nice, as well as two other little bits that I have no idea what they are. Here we have the other half of the fuselage. Once again, very nicely detailed. Bits of the engine exhausts. You got 4 of them, and these are posable. So if you want to pose this sitting on the carrier deck or taking off, you can. Landing gear. Landing gear is a little fragile, but not a crazy amount of fragility there. Bits of the engine inlets, and here we have our pilot. It looks pretty well molded. Various small bits. And here we have the final two sprues. This one seems to also have an ejection seat on it, so maybe you'll have different ejection seats you'll use for different paint schemes. Some AIM 9s, rocket pods, presumably. Ejection seat, as I said. Here we have the launch rails, or the pylons, for the missiles and other missiles. And I think we have some fuel tanks, so fuel tanks too. And a refueling probe right there. And that leaves us with just the clear part. All right, cut this guy right open. Very, very clear, very nice and translucent. See perfectly through that. We do have a molded on windshield wiper. And some smaller bits, presumably for the gun sight and lights. Very nicely molded, no flash, no, it's all nice and clear. So far, really nicely detailed. As I said, I built this kit before and it was rather excellent. Fit was really good. I did have a slight issue with the two fuselage halves when I was building it, but I think that was more down to my error. So yeah, it's my fault for that probably. And ending off, here we have the instructions, which come with the decals, which we'll take a good look here. Decals look excellent. A lot come in this kit, so you're definitely going to be spending a hot minute with them. Here you can see the RAF roundels and the US ones. Very nice. Here we have the stencil layouts of the two aircraft. This one is for the Harrier, and presumably the US one has, yeah, that one's for the GR.1, this is for the AV-8A. So presumably these ones are low-vis ones, while the other ones are something else. Very nice. And now, ending off, we have the instructions. Starting off the top here, we have short descriptions of the GR.1, where it's a VTOL STOL, and it comes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different languages, mostly European, and we also have the statistics in various different languages. All right. Assembly instructions, explain the icons. So starting off here, we have, okay, so these are labeled A or B depending on which paint scheme you're doing. So you'll do A for the GR.1 presumably, and B for the AV-8A. Very nice. Very simple assembly. Our ejection seat is not that simple, but it's nicely detailed. Otherwise, assembly is pretty good. Start with the cockpit and move on to the insides of the fuselage, including the air inlets. What you assembled there, looks like you do, my bad. Yeah, air inlets, engine spool, as well as landing gear bay. And then you put the two halves together. If you have a stand, you can cut out those holes and display it flying. Here we have the tail, which you can pose because it's actually, you could probably not even glue that and can still probably pose it. That's really nice. Upper tail fin. And then got the rear bit there. Not sure if that's part of the RWR system. Then we got the wing assembly, and I guess you're gonna have to drill out a hole if you're doing the AV-8B or AV-8A. Assemble the wings. Here you have the two different ways you can assemble the air intakes, depending on whether or not it's landed or flying. Glue those on, and here we have the various different options of armaments you can choose. Looks like they all use the same armaments, so you can kind of mix and match whichever ones you want. Here you got the gun pods, which you also add to the bottom. Heat shield with the air intakes, or the exhausts. Here you can see that you can pose them differently. Landing gear, and landing gear bay doors closed. As I mentioned, you can display this thing flying or landed. Landing gear, you use different landing gear depending on if they're folded or extended. Looks like it has a posable air brake, which is cool. Then you have the various missiles and then the fuel tank. Looks like the fuel tanks are supposed to take the middle pylons, but I'm sure you can mix and match however you want. Then you assemble the canopy, put the gun sight on, and then finally assemble the cockpit. I guess you have to fill those recesses, so a little bit of a design flaw there. And then we got the antennas. Real nice and simple instructions, easy to read, very straightforward. Quite a few steps, but that's all right. Here we have the first paint scheme, the GR.1. This is the Carrier Trials aircraft, and I have indeed actually built this airplane, or built the model as this airplane, so I painted it this way. And yeah, no, it's a nice two-tone British camouflage, nothing too crazy, but I think the eye is pretty cool. The eye sees all. So, really nice. Got the underwing there. Now for the real funky one, here we got a Marines AV-8A. This one is a VMA 231 Ace of Spades, United States Marine Corps. And it is a interesting, it looks like a two-tone at first, but it's actually a weird three-tone. It's a little hard to see, but you can see where there's two different tones of grays there, which you will have to be wary of. And I believe that's going to be, trying to look at the call outs here for the paint. It does also look like there's some olive drab, as it says up there. So it's like a four-tone camouflage almost, which is a lot, but not unbearable. And yeah, no, it's a really interesting camouflage paint scheme, to say the least. So yeah, overall for a $35 kit, this one is really solid. It's got all you would ever want with a Harrier kit. Comes with the ability to pose it landed, taking off, and it has two different variants, which are slightly different. decals look nice, and one decal sect is a pretty normal paint scheme, while the other one is a relatively flashy one. And yeah, no, overall, real solid kit. Would recommend after I built it.